Good morning, Sam. It is Monday, November 14th, 2022. Today is the first day of our charity event. Last year, we raised over $500 for Save the Children, which was amazing. This year, the goal has not only doubled, it has tripled. We are attempting to raise $1,500 for the Conservation Fund. Do you know what the Conservation Fund is? Well, Sam, I'm sure you do, but you as the viewer, do you know what the Conservation Fund is? I didn't before we started this project, so I've done some research that I'm going to explain to you what the Conservation Fund is and why it is so important and why you should donate to it. Alright, the Conservation Fund, and I'm reading directly from their website where they say, "We protect America's most critical lands and waters to provide greater access to nature, strengthen local economies, and enhance climate resiliency. Top ranked for efficiency and effectiveness, we have worked in all 50 states since 1985 to protect more than 8.5 million acres of land." So what is the Conservation Fund? The Conservation Fund is an organization that is committed to land conservation in the US. They believe that it is vital that we conserve American land. For a couple of reasons. Global warming is an issue that's very near and dear to me. I know it's an issue that's near and dear to you, Sam. And the Conservation Fund is very concerned about the environmental impacts of land. Being used in ways that is destructive is problematic. It leads to greater carbon emissions and stress on the environment, and is in general just something you want to avoid. But what they also point out is that unlike some of the other organizations, they also have a strong economic focus. They believe that having land that is conserved is super important to economies. They consider themselves people-focused and business-minded. As they say on their site, "We are positioned perfectly to occupy the space in between helping people understanding that it's possible to unite their economic and environmental priorities and achieve results that benefit both." They believe that having healthier land that is conserved, that is there for nature, is important to keep local communities thriving economically as well as environmentally. I completely agree. As they say, at the Conservation Fund, we are proactively developing and using innovative, climate-smart conservation strategies and applying practical land management solutions to address the way this crisis is altering our lands, waters, and livelihood. This is something I've been very passionate about for a long time. I think that a lot of climate activism tends to focus very heavily on the ecological side of things, which is really important. Species are going extinct, there are huge environmental impacts to what is happening with the level of carbon emissions that are currently in the atmosphere. However, I think sometimes this removes the human element from this. It removes the day-to-day struggles that most Americans are facing from the climate crisis. As terrible as it sounds, you can think, well, am I really going to be that worse off in a world without pandas? And maybe. But I think for a lot of people, there's an ability to disconnect from that. But I think what we can connect to is our ability to live sustainable, prosperous lives, right? If the environment goes down, so does the economy, so does everything else. The environment is a vital part of what keeps us alive. And maybe you disagree with this, but ultimately, I believe that climate change is about saving the humans. The planet will still be here. Right? There might be mass extinctions, all sorts of things can happen. Earth as a rock spinning around the sun will probably still be here. That's not the thing that climate scientists are most worried about. They're most worried that humans are going to be unable to survive. And I think what the Conservation Fund is doing is marrying those two ideas. There's an enormous ecological impact to the devastation that climate change is causing, and there's going to be enormous financial and economic problems that occur, right? Both of these things can be true simultaneously, and the Conservation Fund is trying to marry them together. In terms of their work with the environment, the Conservation Fund is focusing on things like keeping forests from getting fragmented. They talk about how trees are one of the most important carbon sequesters on the planet. They're working to help build green infrastructure. So the buildings that we're creating are causing less of a negative impact on our planet. As they say, many of America's most important landscapes are home to our most economically distressed and socially marginalized communities. Areas that are the least resilient to withstanding economic shocks and displacements that result from climate change. We partner directly with these communities to build economic resilience and address climate equity by strengthening local and regional water systems, rethinking energy, and creating economic opportunities. The effects of climate change are not going to affect those that are very wealthy. They are going to affect those that cannot afford to be affected. And what the Conservation Fund is attempting to do is help shore up some of these deficiencies, working in both sectors because the environment and the economy are not disconnected. The Conservation Fund acknowledges that the world is complicated and interconnected, and that helping the environment is helping people. briefly, I want to show you a little bit of what you can find out on their website. I've linked to their website below, but there are some really cool tools that exist on this site. So I mentioned earlier in this video that they work in all 50 states. I know we have viewers from all around the country, so I just want to show you, if you go to their site and you click on where we work, it shows by the numbers the number of acres that have been saved, which is really cool. And then you can scroll down and see the actual individual states, right? So I'm in Ohio, so I'm going to click on Ohio. And it shows me that 67,292 acres have been saved in Ohio. More than 16,255 acres have been preserved in partnership with the Fish and Wildlife Service. More than $2,665,000 has been leveraged in loans to protect land through the Conservation Loans Program. And then they show projects that are happening in Ohio that I can click on and read more about. This is true for every state. I recommend looking up your state, seeing what the Conservation Fund has done there and the impact that they have already made. And finally, at the end of this video, I tend to be very skeptical about charity. Is my money actually going to solve the thing that I want it to solve, right? So there's a great site called Charity Navigator, and I've looked at the Conservation Fund on Charity Navigator, and it receives a 92% 4-star charity. This charity score is 92%, earning an all 4-star rating. If this organization aligns with your passions and values, you can give with confidence. I'm going to leave a link to Charity Navigator below as well, so you can take a look at this if you have any questions or concerns. I'm so excited for these next 2 charity weeks. It is so much fun to be back on track with our daily video output. It's going to be a little crazy. Stay tuned. Every single weekday, you're getting a fresh Sam and Meshach. So please consider donating below. There is a list of the perks that are available. Schmackers, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. And Sam, I'll see you tomorrow.